Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and that you're all having an absolutely fantastic day. And without any further ado, let's jump right into it. In news that I assumed that we had received before, but for some reason people were acting as if this was the first time that we had ever heard this news. It says the CEO of Twitter, we know exactly who that is, the platform owned by Elon Musk, yada yada, shared a video showing that the company will soon be rolling out a new feature to enable users to send money on the app to each other. Now I'm going to back up here and just give you the actual story of what's been going on for a while now. And I'm not really sure how. Okay, cool. We'll get to it. So for those of you who don't know, Twitter has attempted to become a money app for a number of years now. Before Elon Musk owned Twitter, it was owned by Jack Dorsey. That name might sound familiar because he is the biggest final boss Bitcoin maximalist that we have on the planet. He believes that Bitcoin at some point in the near future, not even the far away future at this point, is going to become the currency of the planet, of the internet, and we will all be using it. And the way that he started years ago to get the integration going was by allowing people to tip each other through Satoshis on the app. And I think there was also some further integration of the Lightning Network as well. If you are on Twitter all the time, you've definitely seen people tipping each other, yada yada. They also added some form of an Ethereum tipping service. I don't see people using it, but I see people talking about tipping in sats for a while now. With the introduction of Elon Musk onto the platform and people finding out that there's a lot to do with him and Dogecoin, the idea then became, if he did end up buying the company, which he was forced to do, he would then at some point integrate Dogecoin into the platform as a form of payment. We had this news around the beginning of this year, and I was telling everyone it's not going to happen overnight. That's not how money movement works. The idea of it happening in a decentralized manner, cool, can happen completely overnight. But when you're talking about a platform that had hundreds of millions of people on it, you need some type of hyper regulation. And this is why we also heard that a couple of months ago, they began to receive a number of money licensing paperwork agreements between them and other states across the United States. And I think the one that kind of stuck out the most, that made the biggest headline news, was Rhode Island for some reason. I don't know the rules of Rhode Island, but apparently it got people jarred up enough that it ended up being the most popular news story of that day. Maybe it spreads to other states. Maybe there's a connection. I'm honestly not completely sure why Rhode Island made the most popular news that day. So on top of that, we have known for a while what Twitter is going to try and do. And I refuse to call it X because it's just absolute nonsense. It is a letter. It doesn't even sound right when you say it out loud. Even when you go to the website, it still says Twitter on the top. It's just Twitter. It's been Twitter for as long as we can all have imagined. They're literally showing blue birds on here because that's what the AI generated. Anyway, on top of that, we know that they're trying to make Twitter into an everything or all-in-one app. It's one of the only ways that they've kind of decided or think that they figured out that they can actually make or keep Twitter to be profitable in some way. For those of you who don't, this is complete honesty. For those of you who don't know or have never heard, a lot of companies are never usually profitable. And I know that sounds really weird, especially when you talk about Facebook, Twitter, etc., etc., etc. Profit usually comes in the form of other things. So when you hear that these companies or that these CEOs are making tens of hundreds of millions of billions of dollars every single year, it's usually coming from another source of income that has nothing to do with the actual leftover generated profits from what they're trying to do as an actual company. So at the end of a year, This is why, remember when we heard that Elon Musk was even trying to buy Twitter, and I was like, why? It's because Twitter has never actually been profitable. It's the same exact thing with YouTube. You can look it up. YouTube, I think just recently, finally became profitable, and it had not been over the course of 14 to 15 years. It sounds insane. You have to look into it, yada, 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 yada. The point is, they're trying to figure out what to do with Twitter and how to transform it and how to market it. This is why you saw, like, you can pay for a yellow check, you can pay for 2 blue checks, you can pay for and all these other things. So they're trying to figure out how to make enough money to actually make it profitable, because they're losing hundreds of millions and billions of dollars at the end of every single year. So the answer that they think that they found is to try and make it so that they can test, lightly rival, and or in the same framework as a bank, as Robinhood, and especially what Apple is also doing. For those of you who haven't seen, Apple is tremendously large, and they're basically trying to become a bank wherein Apple is offering a higher yearly return on your money in your bank account than other banks around the world are currently doing, because Apple is also, of course, trying to become a bank. Reeling it all back in after all that information, this news popped up and people were pretending like it was something brand new. Like we had never heard Elon Musk talking about this before. Like this was some brand new thing, some brand new feature on Twitter that had never happened. Like we've had essential micro payments and payments in crypto for a number of years on Twitter. But for some reason, when Elon Musk's announcement that he's trying to get paperwork to be able to do the exact same thing, that of course gets everyone completely riled up. So someone left a tweet. It said a hint of what's to come, and it was literally just a video of, I don't remember, I saw this thing. So anyway, yes, that's the news. Very popular news because it has to do with Elon Musk, it has to do with Twitter, and their announcement that they have payments coming at some point in the near future. No one knows when. I would assume the beginning of next year. It seems like not a Q4 kind of thing, but a Q1 of a brand new year to get people reinterested back into the app and stuff like that. And it's also still like a coin toss. Will people want to use Twitter just because they can send money on it? There are tons of other apps that already do the exact same thing. What's the difference between this one? We also have indications, this was a month ago, Elon Musk was like, no, Twitter is not creating their own coin. I guess because they can't get the regulatory approval for it. It's probably very difficult to do any of that through the SEC right now. And a lot of people believed that there would be a Musk coin or a Twitter coin. And then that led to people believing that Elon Musk saying that they're not making a Twitter coin, that he's going to put his full support behind Dogecoin. And it's like, calmate. Like everyone's so riled up into thinking that Elon Musk is just like loving Dogecoin. It's a bit intense at this point. So that's the soon. At some point, Twitter will have payments. I assume it will be more of a PayPal kind of thing where they're sending like US dollar equivalents, and then eventually they'll end up getting some type of cryptocurrency functionality. That's just the way that logic seems to be playing out in my head. That's the Twitter news. And yeah, let's move on. I don't know why people continue to assume it's not that people will change. How do I even phrase that in English? We've seen before so many times, the way that the SEC has worked. What they do, it should be fairly obvious to everyone who's been looking or listening to the news in just a span of a 12-month period that these people are absolutely insane. That's not meant to be a joke. It is simply a fact. The saying goes, if it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, then gosh darn it, it's a duck. Gary Gensler has been more so in the news, a lot more than he even was before, because of his statements. You can assume that Gary Gensler does not like the cryptocurrency space. I think we can all agree on that. It's abundantly clear that this guy has no intention of doing anything that's actually right. And I say right not in a, hey, give us our freedom kind of thing. It's more of a, if these people have been working with you over the course of a decade and a half trying to get paperwork, and they still don't have the paperwork they've been asking for, clearly something's wrong with the regulator. If we've heard from every major cryptocurrency exchange that they've been trying to get regulatory approval while they're a company and they say that they want to do what's best for their customer, I cringe a bit because they don't care about us. They just care about the money. The fact then should be they're still asking for rules and law and regulations to be able to, on paper, do what's right for the people using their platform. We can all agree on that. And then you still hear from Gary Gensler, and I file it down just to Gensler, because we've heard from other people within the SEC building who's like, yeah, he's completely insane. We have no idea what he's doing. Yeah, we completely disagree with everything he's doing. Why does he not do X, Y, and Z? Cumulatively, we can put all those puzzle pieces together and then we get to build Gary Gensler. For whatever reason, my idea still is, this is only an assumption as I am not in the room with the SEC. I have been in no room for any of these conversations. If you've been asking someone for 15 years to help you do something and they say no, I can only assume that it has to do with corruption and or someone is paying him behind the scenes. I cannot state it any other way. And that's simply because every other cryptocurrency derivative product has been passed on into the system. It already exists in the United States. Same exact thing with the excitement around Ethereum futures and Ethereum ETF futures and Bitcoin ETF futures, all revolving around futures, and how every other country, this is a really major point. Understand, if you are in a room with 199 other people, and after 15 years, you're the only person to continuously say no every day for 15 years, you are the problem. Every other country that wants a physical Bitcoin or Ethereum ETF has them, except for the United States. For those of you who weren't here years ago, Gary Gensler, one of the things he said as to why he didn't want a physical Bitcoin ETF, he said it was something more than market manipulation. It was something along the lines of like, he thinks that the market would not be able to handle it. I forgot his exact wording, but it was something completely nonsensical. And then I think a couple of weeks afterwards, we got news that I think Canada got 3 physical Bitcoin ETFs. And I ranted my heart out in that video because I was like, let's give it half a year. Let's see if the Canadian economic system completely collapses because they have Bitcoin ETFs. More than half a year went by. Tons of money were flowing into these funds. We even heard that there were a couple American companies who basically went over the border and they were doing business in Canada for the ETFs themselves. And I was like, whoa, well, that's weird. Canada hasn't collapsed and, Bitcoin isn't, doing X, Y, and so because of what happened. It's clear that something money-based that's happening behind the scenes. Either someone is whispering in this man's ear or he has completely lost it. 15 years is a very long time. All that stuff that I just said, now think of this. This got into the news and people were acting like, once again, everything I just said, keep it in the front of your mind. Gary Gensler did something and people were pretending like it was the first time this man has ever done and or ever said something like this. In a recent post on Twitter, crypto attorney Jeremy Hogan shared a snippet of an interview featuring the US SEC chairman Gary Gensler. In the clip, Gensler expressed that the crypto industry is rife with non-compliance, which is also nonsense because he won't tell them what they have to comply with. When asked whether any court decision could alter his perspective, Gensler indicated that he would remain unswayed by such prospects, basically saying, no matter what happens, no matter what a court tells him, no matter what is the final judgment from a judge, he will not listen to it because he believes in his heart that people should be following only what the SEC says. He provided no particular agreement that a court decision would change his perspective about the crypto space. Instead, he hoped for a court decision that would help bring compliance soon. So basically he wanted the judge in the XRP lawsuit to vote in the SEC's favor and say that this is the regulation. He wanted the thing between them and Grayscale to go in the SEC's favor and for Grayscale to be told this is regulation. He wants the courts to give actual regulations, and anything else that they say that is against what he believes, he will not agree with. As you might have imagined, people did not care for that. And I sat back and in the nicest possible thought process, I sat there like, who cares? We've gotten to the point where, we are well within the swamp at this point, where things that don't actually matter now matter within the cryptocurrency space. Why do we care what Gary Gensler has to say? Why should we care that we don't have a Bitcoin ETF? Bitcoin has existed for a decade and a half without a physical Bitcoin ETF in the United States, and we still got to $70,000 a coin. We just had the other day, remember this? There was one day where 700,000 new Bitcoin addresses were created. We see massive amounts of accumulation in other countries that are currently undergoing or living under between 30 to 70% inflation year on year. It's the same exact story when it comes to the Bitcoin futures. Remember years ago when we were told that Bitcoin futures based in US dollars were important? And wherever that price went, we also had to follow, and Bitcoin's price had to go down. There's some type of heavy, intense brainwashing, and I don't use that term normally and or lightly. That's been happening and I assume it's based off of the idea that, not the fact that, the idea that the only way that Bitcoin will survive is if Bitcoin becomes more like things in traditional finance. We don't need the traditional finance arena to build around us, and that's the only way that Bitcoin will thrive. It's actually the opposite. Bitcoin thrives when we don't have all these nonsensical things in place. We don't need derivatives. We don't need futures. We don't need an ETF around. Of course, they will help if we hear that institutions are getting into the space. But if we don't have them, it only opens the door and leaves it open for normal people to be able to accumulate Bitcoin and to use money as they so see fit. Very popular news in that Gary Gensler answered in a very Genslery way. He also was recently in the news during was like a deposition or something like that. I think he sat before Senate or Congress. I don't know. There's far too much stuff happening in the world. And he basically reiterated everything that he's been saying for a very long time. Crypto's non-compliant. He doesn't like this. I think someone told him to approve a Bitcoin ETF like immediately, and he rolled his eye, and it's all these different things, and it's like all of that compiled together just tells me that this man he either has an actual conviction where he believes that crypto needs to be regulated in this way, or this is one of the craziest forms of outward corruption that we've ever actually witnessed. Neither one of those things is a joke. But to consistently see this man in the news, if you've been here for the last 100 days, 70% of it, 65, 70% of it, we've seen Gary Gensler being one of the top news stories. I would love, as I go over daily news, I bring you the most impactful news that was in the news, but I would love nothing more if we could just stop talking about Gary Gensler and the SEC, because they're not the cryptocurrency market. It seems absolutely absurd that this one man, one out of 8 billion people on the planet, essentially has control over the cryptocurrency market. How many articles have we seen stating that when we do get a physical Bitcoin ETF at the blessing of Gary Gensler, Bitcoin's going back to its, previous all-time high of 70,000 by February? Why do we need this man, this one person who we know is corrupt, to be able to do that? That's like saying, whatever. Anyway, that's the Gary Gensler news. People could not believe it. People reacted quite strongly to the things that he said, and it's like, it's just him being him. We know he's a terrible human being. That's the SEC news. And yeah, let's move on. In shockingly unshocking news, a British bank called Standard Chartered's crypto arm called Zodia Crypto has just rolled out a new service that will enable crypto investors to generate passive income from their digital assets. We are seeing more and more banks nearly on a weekly, I don't dare say daily yet, on a weekly basis, who are announcing that they're getting actively into the cryptocurrency space, plus that they're going to be offering some type of a staking service. I mentioned this, it's been at least 2 years now. Before Ethereum even had its proof of stake mechanism and yada yada, the idea of staking as passive income is literally almost from the heavens. It is as simple as you buying a piece of crypto and you placing it somewhere, and it replicates by itself. In the finance world, this is nearly unheard of, as you tend to have to do a lot of work to make your investments kind of multiply and or maintain and or gain value, what have you. I told you years ago, now this isn't a I told you so moment, it's more of a recollection, that this was going to take off very quick. I said, if this cryptocurrency experiment does take off, if crypto does become mainstream, we are going to see everyone hop into it. The saddest part is that the people who are here early are going to make the most profits, and everyone who kind of trails behind will then, of course, not benefit as much as others. The idea being, if you got Ethereum when its price is low, or even where it is right now, simply because we're talking about people saying that we're going to have a $15, $30, $100,000 Ether over the course of the next decade, what have you, it'll then be something special to a lot of other people who are like, hey, I have 1/10 of an Ether. And people will go, you have 1/10 of an Ether? How's that possible? Because all the Ether and all the Bitcoin will be and already is held by the richest people on the planet. A lot of banks who are announcing their foray into the cryptocurrency space openly this year have nearly all said they're going to have a custody service and also some type of a staking service, and it will initially begin with the richest customers who they have. It's always this way. We always get pushed to the back of the line for the people who have the most amount of money, because they want their money first, and they essentially want to allow them to be able to accumulate as much cryptocurrencies as possible while prices are down. This is why I've told you before. This is me. This personally, with prices being down, it doesn't scare me. It just more annoys me, because I know that we should not be this low mathematically in price, based off of the constant good news that we get every single day. The other side of it is that as prices remain low and these institutions continue to buy, they're buying up all these things that will essentially get them tens of thousands of dollars in passive income every single day, if not more. I think I'm even lowballing it there. I went over that with a friend of mine, discussing staking coins and like strong staking coins. I'm not talking about coin number 822 and a half and all that other stuff. I mean, like, the prospect of being able to own these coins and essentially making like $65,000 per year just from like a normal person like actually staking, should prices actually go up, is completely insane. The subsidiary in the business, yes, it's in the business, okay, of storing institutions' crypto says it struck a deal with Singapore-based blockchain technology provider OpenEden for the Zodiac Custody Yield program that will provide staking services to institutional clients. Zodiac says the partnership seeks to address the demand for digital asset products that are low risk, liquid, and transparent. They said, and I quote, "Institutions will benefit from having access to the potential of real-world yield from U.S. Treasury bills enabled by OpenEden's platform, which provides on-chain security and transparency on real-world assets managed by regulated fund managers," end quote. I don't really have to go any further. I think you get the general idea. I, at some point, wish that this market, and I mean like actually, like on a consistent basis. I don't mean like in a cyclical manner. I want prices to actually reflect the news so bad, because I do believe at this point we'd be at least at a $40,000 to $50,000, $60,000 Bitcoin, and that's just based on the news of accumulation, network usage, how much money is flowing through it, how many new wallets, how many banks are getting into the space, and how many institutions and banks and countries are mining Bitcoin for the future. Yeah, that's the British bank is rolling out crypto services to their clients news. And yeah, let's move on. Sure, why not? I personally don't understand why this made very popular news, but alas, here we are. It says in an unexpected move, which is actually quite expected. Tether Group, the cryptocurrency company behind Tether, has made a strategic investment in the Northern Data Group. It's calling them a controversial Bitcoin mining company. I doubt that it's controversial at all. Who are registered within Germany. The deal, which included a amount of $420 million for a total of 10,000 H100 GPUs, not only has positioned Tether as a new competitor in the technology. So who writes these articles? Like, some of the stuff these people say are so stupid. It's so dumb. They're not a new competitor. Oh my, I hate it so much. I'm like lightly massaging my temples. I don't understand. Now listen, I don't know who hires these people. And I say in the nicest way that I can form these words. If you have a cryptocurrency news website, outlet, platform, can you please make sure that you hire people who know how to write properly? I'm trying not to be mean. And even more so, I'll pile on top of that, who actually know how the cryptocurrency space works or knows anything about anything. The amount of times that we've gone through articles, even the one from earlier, like Twitter's going to have payments. Twitter has had payments. They're trying to now become like a US dollar payment app. Tether is not new. Tether's not a brand new company. Tether is not a brand new competitor in the mining sector. You know that these companies have been mining Bitcoin for a number of years. You know how a lot of these companies got started? They were normal people, and I say normal, I'm air quoting here. People who had some money who bought Bitcoin and made hundreds of millions of dollars. They used that money to then create other coins and stable coins. And they got even further into the actual mining sector. Do you think Tether is just minting Tether? You think these billionaires are just sitting there going, no, I don't want to do anything else. No, just Tether. It sounds like a nice word. That's all I want to deal in. Tether has been mining, as have other companies in the cryptocurrency space, for a very long time. Maybe this is why a lot of times whenever we get news that Coinbase, the people from Ether, Bitmain, you name it, are also, BlackRock and Fidelity are mining crypto, that it ends up making big news because maybe other people don't realize. You understand how money works? Do you get how rich people make money? You know that people who have like a lot of money, they don't only do one thing, right? You know, like they're not only buying real estate, they're not only buying stocks. You know, Kathy Wood isn't only buying Coinbase stock and she owns no real estate, right? She's not simply sitting there going, well, I hope this works. We have a lot of money in this one stock. I really hope Coinbase goes up. No, that's why it's like the idea of diversification isn't simply like, well, I like these three things. Let me deal in those. By the time you are worth billions of dollars, you are investing in asset classes that normal people don't even know about. This is why you hear so many times, you probably have heard before. I've seen people making fun of on TikTok and on Instagram, making fun of like really wealthy people for buying like Birkin bags. And they're like, rich people are now investing in bags. Yeah, because they already own all the real estate. They own all the stock. They own all the land. They own all the art. They're buying cars. You buy a bag because you're like, I want to invest in something else. The bag costs $25,000 to get. Guess what? 8 years later, it's worth $68,000. I just saw something. What was it? There was something on YouTube. Crap. What was it? Something about investing in cars. Someone bought a car years and years ago that was worth like $700,000, and now I think that car is worth like $25 million or something like that. Like Tether, Coinbase, Kraken, Gemini, Fidelity, BlackRock, Elon Musk, Vitalik Buterin. These people are investing in multiple things within the cryptocurrency space. You know, Vitalik Buterin also owns Bitcoin? What? Oh my gosh, that's crazy. How is that happening? What's wrong with everyone? What am I missing? Why does this keep happening? And it only gets worse when the people writing these articles write stuff like a controversial Bitcoin mining Why? Why are they controversial? Because they're in Germany? It's an unexpected move that the people who control an $86 billion stablecoin would be investing in mining the number one coin. I'm sorry for ranting. It's just this space has gotten completely out of control. All the stuff that's going on, like it's just one nonsensical thing after another nearly every single day. Anyway, the news was, and also many different places wrote stuff similar to this, that it was unexpected. How crazy that Tether is putting money into the mining sector. They're going after companies who are now bankrupt, who don't have a lot of money, so they're buying a stake in that company with tons of their money. Oh boy, yes. These people are doing other things besides the thing that you hear about in the news. Maybe that's also why, here we go, I think I just figured it out. Remember the news that we had that oh my geez Louise, that we had that the people from FTX and Sam Bankman-Fried bought real estate? Do you remember that? For those of you who weren't here, that was a great day. We found out that FTX owned like I think $100 million worth of property in the Bahamas. They own a whole bunch of like stocks and bonds and real estate and all this other stuff. And people were like, that's unethical. What world are you living on where these people, you think the people from freaking FTX, Coinbase, Gemini, and Kraken, they only are custodying these coins? You raise your hand if you think that the CEOs of Binance and Coinbase only own one home. How many of you think that they only own the one home that they live in? How many of you think that Brian Armstrong only owns one Bitcoin? Do any of you believe that Changpeng Zhao is also mining crypto? Is probably buying up tons of land? What's happening? What's going on? Why every time we get news in the cryptocurrency space, it ends up being, why is everyone so fascinated with people getting fired in the cryptocurrency space? What's that about? What am I missing? All right. I think that's going to do it for this video for the sake of my blood pressure. I sincerely hope that you've all enjoyed. And listen, listen. And I know it's not all of you. I get it. I've seen a lot of you have been here for a long amount of time. But to the other 20, 30%, we need to have a conversation because I'm completely confused as to how you can be in this space for so long and not know what's going on. This like dramatic disconnect from like what reality is. I don't know. I do hope that you've all enjoyed. I do hope you all are having a great day, great morning, great afternoon, a great evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I hope somebody picks up a book. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and or supporting. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See